Okay, so given the magnitude of the apparent difference in the number of children who produced PRE3 in post in the object versus the subject positions, it was surprising that the difference was not significant for each noun phrase type. A closer inspection of the data showed that although a majority of the children presented this pattern, approximately 25% of them produced PRE3 and post only in the subject position, and thus performed opposite to the prediction. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah, because we would think, originally they thought that it would be, the object position that would be shown. Okay. Okay, so the next category that we looked at was noun phrase type as a function of narrative context. Table 6, which is over here, shows the percentage of children producing each of the noun phrase types at least once in response to the two narrative context, single and then sequence. Okay, so for both conditions, PRE1 was at 100% for all three ages, so this was not analyzed further. Said that before. For the single context, PRE2 was manifested by children at all ages and thus showed only a small non-significant increase from ages 5 to 11. PRE3 and post were manifested by fewer children than PRE2 at all ages, which I thought was interesting. Oh no, that's not interesting, never mind. But showed a larger increase from age 5 to 11. Follow-up pairwise age comparisons for both PRE3 and post were significant for two age pairs, 5 and 11 and 8 and 11. For the sequence context, there was a large increase in the percentage of children manifesting PRE2 between ages 5 and 8. PRE3 and post occurred infrequently in the sequence context. However, the percentage of children manifesting these types of ENPs increased significantly with age. For sequence, all three positions were significant. The following pairwise age comparisons were significant for PRE2, 5 and 8-year-olds and 5 and 11-year-olds, and for PRE3, 5 and 11, and for post, 5 and 8, and then 5 and 11. And then again, table 6 showing the percentage. Okay. A comparison of the percentage of children manifesting ENPs in the response to the two contexts showed higher rates for single by 12% to 26% than for sequence for each noun for each of the noun phrase types. Follow-up chi-squares comparing the effect of context within each noun phrase type and within each age group did not yield any significance. All right, conclusion. In the current study, usage of one significant feature of literate language, noun phrase elaboration, showed a clear developmental pattern into the school years. In the oral narratives produced by children at 5, 8, and 11 years of age, pre-modified and post-modified noun phrases increased from rarely to frequently present over the 6-year age span. Some differences in presence of noun phrase types were apparent across the two narrative contexts, remember single and sequence, with these differences logically linked to the nature of the eliciting stimuli. Beyond this contextual variation, the results showed that simple designated noun phrases are produced by 5 years of age, simple descriptive noun phrases are produced by 8 years, and complex post-modification noun phrases are produced by 11 years. Object elaboration was more frequent even at this older age than was subject elaboration. There are a few developmental markers for school-age syntax. Noun phrase elaboration, which is easily and reliably coded as the presence of one or more occurrences and with a clear developmental pattern appears to be a valuable structure for revealing the degree of mastery of the grammar of literate language. So that was basically the conclusion or the discussion. And then a critique. So some problems that I found with this study was that the sample size was pretty small. Only 40 children per age group, so 120 in total, which is not large enough to support the creation of standard scores. That type of data, the type of data that was collected and analyzed, was not economically feasible. So it wasn't, so yeah, that many people was like cost a lot of money. Since the narratives were another critique was that since the narratives are part of a norming study for a standardized test, the narrative contexts were always administered in the same order. And as a result, fatigue or practice factors could have affected the context comparison. So, the kids could have got tired, doing it in the same order, or because it's a standardized test, they've prepped for it before, and that could have had some effect on the results. Okay, so another critique that I have is that picture sequence and the single picture context differ in the level of support they provide for a narrative structure. In sequence pictures, they provide more structure to support the narrative kind of sequence. But in this study, actually the opposite happens for noun phrase elaboration, with the single picture context promoting more of this elaboration. There were several differences between the picture stimuli that could have influenced noun phrase elaboration. The picture sequence depicted a realistic event. Remember the boy, he was late for school, 5 different pictures. While the single picture depicted a fantasy scene with, the aliens, which may have encouraged more visual descriptions. Also, the picture sequence involved only a single main character in contrast to the single picture, which involved several main characters. This feature of the single picture may have promoted use of additional descriptive details when talking about the characters in the story. Therefore, we cannot draw a conclusion about which variable or variables led to the difference in extent of noun phrase elaboration between the two contexts. And then another critique is that these results reflect a wide distribution of ability levels at the ages that were assessed, which can be considered both the strength and the weakness. The strength being that the results can be generalized to the population of primary grade students, but the weakness is that we do not know how representative these results are for the subpopulation of children, such as those with specific language impairment or mental retardation or pervasive developmental disabilities. Because remember, there were children who were had disabilities, but they were in regular education. So, but they were kept there. They weren't, differentiated or anything. And these are my sources. I used obviously the article, and then I also used another article for some definitions, and I also used notes from class. And thank you for listening. Congratulations, you finally made it to the end of my PowerPoint. I hope you enjoyed watching, and yeah, thanks for watching. Yay, you made it to the end. Okay. Let me just shut this off. Alrighty.